First, when I was governor, keep in mind, you all kept re-electing me when our economy was lousy. Until the year I ran for president, we only had 1 month when our unemployment rate was below the national average. But you knew we had a plan to change it. We were bringing back manufacturing. We were one of only 8 states in the country that grew manufacturing jobs in the 80s. We led the region in job growth, and in 1992, coincidentally, and I didn't know it was going to happen on October the 1st or 3rd when I was standing here, we ranked first or second in the country in new job growth all year long. But it took a long time. We had a strategy to do it. You have to have a source of new jobs in a big country like this every 5 to 8 years. My personal favorite is changing the way we produce and consume energy in a way that's good business, because it will, if you can create jobs in every town, in every small community, in every big city in the United States doing that. The opportunity is not limited by party philosophy or geography. I like that. I also think a commitment to rebuild our manufacturing base will. I think a commitment to increase our exports will. We can do better. But we have to do that. And there is no example of a country in the fix we're in that can balance the budget without a combination of spending cuts, the people who can afford it paying more, and growing the economy. And if you don't have economic growth, there is no combination of spending cuts or tax increases that can get blood out of a turnip. So, why am I saying all this? Because we made a decision here 20 years ago. All of you who threw your lot in, and come on, let's face it, on that day, my mother was the only person who thought I was going to be elected president. Hillary and Chelsea were undecided, though leaning positive. We just made a decision that the country needed a new kind of politics, a new kind of economics, a new commitment to get into the next century with the American dream alive and well. A commitment that would restore the middle class and give people who were poor a chance to work their way into it. And we decided to stop the politics of pitting one American against another by race, by ethnicity, by gender, by income, by anything else. We decided, well, we tried all that for a while. Why don't we just work together and see how that works out? And I'm so glad we started here. In 1977, in January, on a very cold night, I held my first reception as a public official here when I became Attorney General. In 1979, as governor, with the help of Rose Crane, who still is out there, still got the scars to show for it, we began the effort to restore the old State House to its original condition. And many people have worked on that and done a brilliant job of giving us what we now treasure. And it symbolizes our past, our present, and our future. Not 30 years after this building was built, no, a little more than 30 years, right after the Civil War, when most white males, who were the only people voting back then, were disenfranchised as a result of having fought for the South, we had a governor's race here between a man named Brooks and a man named Baxter. And it was not clear who won. At least it was close enough that they were shooting at each other. And one group was over there by the Capitol Hotel, and the other group was trying to lodge here at the Capitol, and they were shooting at each other. The President of the United States was Ulysses Grant. And having been the commanding general in the Civil War, his authority was so great, he finally just said, "Baxter's the governor, get over it and stop this mess." President Grant then came to the Capitol Hotel, stood on that balcony you can see today. The Arkansas River was turned right after here and came in very close to our street, and they had a grand parade going by because they figured we had to stop fighting and get the show on the road. So I will tell you folks, in memory of one of the most important moments in the old State House's history, we have to stop fighting and get the show on the road. When we walked out of here, we started this 7-day-a-week, 24-hour campaign. Our first headquarters was in an old paint store over on 7th Street. I drove by here today just so I could see it one more time before I came in. Then we moved to the Arkansas Gazette building, and the Gazette had recently closed. But in its glory days, it was one of the greatest newspapers in America and one of the most progressive voices on civil rights and human rights in the history of the country. And I kept hoping that the ghost of its progressive past would somehow sprinkle angel dust on our campaign and give us a good break. The journey begun here worked out pretty well for Americans. And I'm grateful for all you have done. I want to just do two more things. First of all, those of us here were not alone in this effort. And those who couldn't be here today were not alone. I have signed some 600 letters of condolences since I left the White House on the passing of people who helped me become president or who worked in one or both of my administrations. It began in the campaign when we lost Vic Razor, my Mid-Atlantic fundraising chairman, and the incomparable Paul Tully. In my first term, we lost Ron Brown, whom I loved like a brother and may still be the greatest Commerce Secretary we ever had. And it has continued to the last 2 months when we lost Maria Haley and B.A. Rudolph. When I knew I was going to be a good governor in 1979 when I took my first trade mission abroad with Maria Haley, and we went into Hong Kong and we stayed in some high-rise hotel. I thought I was somebody. I'd never been in here before. And I was with Bill and Callie Brandon from Helen, and they said, you know, Maria says there's a bar upstairs with a band, and if you want to go up and just, you know, have a drink and listen to music one time before you go to bed, we can do it. We walked in and the band stopped playing and said, "Hi, Maria." So I figured Arkansas may be a landlocked state, but if the band in a hotel in Hong Kong knows my director's name, we're all right. Last night, when I got home at the suggestion of someone who came up to me and told me, I went into one of the bathrooms in the apartment in the executive suite at the library, and I started opening the drawers, and B.A. Rudolph had left me a note there just a couple of weeks before she died. And all she said was, "Good digs. I'm glad I was along for the ride." So, in honor of all those people, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence and gratitude. Thank you. Now I want to say something to the young people who are here. I have a lot of time to study what's going on in America. I'm home alone a lot. My wife has a traveling job. So I keep reading all these surveys that say young people in the United States are getting discouraged. They're afraid they won't have a better future. At one level, I understand that, because things were pretty good for a long time and now they're not. But to all the young people, I would say, look, it's all right to be realistic. But to be discouraged about your future is a decision in advance to be disappointed. Nobody has a right to permanent prosperity. It has to be earned. Nobody has a right to a life free of challenges. It'd be boring anyway. At some time or another, every people are called upon to re-examine the premises of their nation's life, how people treat each other, what rights are extended to what people, and what they do to make a living and create a brighter future. To be young today is to live in a time of uncertainty and difficulty, but also a time of enormous opportunity. A time when you have the responsibility to reimagine the future. The uncertainties of the current moment do not have to exist a decade from now. It'll be determined by the decisions that we make, beginning with how we answer that big question about whether government is the problem or a necessary part of the solution. But first, you must make the decision not to give up. And not to give up in politics, not to give up in economics, not to give up in life. Harry and Linda Thomason, who couldn't be here today, made a bunch of great movies for me, but my favorite was one cataloging all the people and all the times people said I was deader than a doornail in the 92 campaign. I was declared dead so many times I could swear they were going to say I was the person buried in Grant's tomb. If you doubt what I say, go home tonight and watch the replay of today's Razorback game. Now, you're all cheering. I watched it and I was ecstatic, but come on, what chance do we have? We're playing one of the greatest offensive teams in America. We're down 18 points at halftime. We can't stop anybody. The line's pushing us 5 yards off. We're toast, right? Not a shot. Somebody forgot to tell the players to give up. So they kept playing the game. And every young person here should remember that. Pessimism and cynicism, they save you a lot of time. You don't have to go through the effort of trying to change things, and you get to be disappointed right away. But if you really want to restore the American dream, if you want to rebuild the middle class, if you want to give poor people their shot again, if you'd like to live in a country where immigrants are not enemies but can be a part of our common humanity again, woo! You got to play the game. At the core of this country, there has always been an idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you get a chance to live your dream and give your children a chance to chase theirs. No guarantee, but a chance for all. In order to do that, we have to believe, we have to think, and we have to act. That's what we tried to do for 8 good years. And for all of you who took me through those 2 campaigns, our earlier days here in Arkansas and those 8 years in Washington, I am profoundly grateful. Now another young president is facing similar challenges. I will say this. I suppose I'm pulling harder for him because he showed such good judgment in picking a Secretary of State. But I would be pulling for him regardless. Because underlying those challenges is the same old debate about whether government is the problem or we need smart government and a changing economy working together to create the opportunities of tomorrow. For all of you who've helped me, I'd like to end this ceremony by just giving everybody a gold watch. Some of us are old enough to earn it. But America has never been a retirement party. And it isn't now. America is a constant invitation to suit up and play again. And so, if you're really proud of what we did, help your kids stay in school, hire somebody if you can, start a business if you can, make your voice heard. And remind people that conflict is necessary in life and can somehow be great for a political campaign. But America got to this point through cooperation, through striving relentlessly, repeatedly, through all the disappointments and all the setbacks and all the difficulties for the more perfect union of our founders' dreams. Maybe I am crazy as I age, but I am not pessimistic. I still believe in the promise of this country. I still believe that every place in America can be a place called hope. And if you really believe in what we did here all those years ago, if you're still proud of it, and most importantly, if you want it to happen again and give your kids and grandkids, and for some of you, your great-grandkids, what you know in your bones they deserve, play again. God bless you.